Hey soldiers, good news. Happy days are here again. Inflation is over. So says one authoritative source. Now, before we get into this, I want you to put a note in the comments. Is inflation over in your neck of the woods? Or is this just some elitist, okay, air quotes, elitist, who is looking at data and looking at the world from their lofty economic perspective and getting it all wrong? What are you seeing out there? Is inflation over for you? Well, it looks like a sizable percentage of the American people have slowed down on their spending. And they're saying, you know what? We just can't do it anymore. Existence has just gotten to be too doggone expensive. And so we have to cut back to the bare minimum. So let's talk about that. And then let's get into this person that you may know and why they are saying that inflation is over. No worries. Just smooth skies from here. All right. So for large parts of the past 2 years, inflation has been a major concern for millions of Americans, as the significant increase in prices for many day-to-day purchases has eaten away at their buying power. And when we talk about buying power, from a soldiers of finance perspective, we're talking about the buying power of assets. Sure, we have to eat, we have to buy clothes and do all those things. But as a soldier of finance, one of the things that we do, we reject consumerism, conspicuous consumerism. We know that the latest Corvette, although it is a sweet car, we know it's a liability. We know it's losing value very quickly, and we know it's overpriced. So why should we put a whole bunch of money into that when we can buy quality assets that will appreciate in value and maybe even kick off income? All right? Not things that take money out of our pockets. Those aren't the things we want to concentrate on. We want to concentrate on the things that put money into our pockets, right? And so when we see inflationary prices, our ability to do that is negatively impacted. But we still got to do it because we're soldiers of finance. Somebody asked me in the comments, you're soldiers of finance. What are you fighting against? And I said, that's a valid question. We are fighting against high inflation, high interest rates, the government just spending willy-nilly, driving our taxes up. That's the war we're fighting, and maintaining our ability to purchase assets. Inflation neutralized any pay increases that we've seen here recently, but many Americans were actually left with less than before, as wage growth could not keep up with surging prices for essential goods and services. Now get this, I want you to make a mental note. Those services include food, gas, and rent. All right, so food, energy, and housing, okay? Essentials. You got to eat. You got to, even if you don't put gas in your own car, you got to pay for Uber, or you got to pay for the metro, the subway, the bus. Part of that fare is so you can power that particular motor-driven vehicle. As a response, many Americans have had to cut back on non-essential spending or find other ways to save money. We've got 64% of U.S. adults saying that they spent less on non-essentials. Okay? So people are getting it. They're saying, you know what, we're cutting this out. But unfortunately, I think more people are understanding it from the standpoint of just, look, credit card delinquencies are rising. The ability to spend is becoming exhausted. It's not like we're seeing people say, en masse, to hell with consumerism, I'm going to buy assets. Maybe this will be a great awakening. I sure hope so. An equally high share of the 1,009 respondents said they paid more attention to bargains or deals. Only 11% of respondents in the Statista poll said they didn't change their behavior at all, just 11%, showing how universal the impact of inflation has been. One of those 11% is that elitist that I was telling you about just a moment ago. Paul Krugman. Let me tell you a little bit about this guy, Paul Krugman. He's a Nobel laureate, okay? He's won a Nobel Prize for economics. and this is part and parcel and very emblematic of what these out of touch, quote unquote, elitist think. Now, this man is out there saying that inflation is over, okay? This is a person who is not exposed to the economy in the way that you and I are. Maybe for him, because he is wealthy, and he solved his money problems by going out and finding a rich woman and just marrying her, okay? Hey, there you go. You want to ask Paul Krugman how to get rich. He'll tell you. Just find a woman that is, or a man, whatever floats your boat, that's a multi-millionaire, and just marry that person. So this guy might not be seeing any more inflation when it comes to the price of caviar. He might not be seeing any inflation anymore in jet fuel for his G5 or a private jet. All right, maybe to crew his yacht doesn't cost as much as it used to. Or maybe he's just so damn rich that he doesn't feel it, okay, at all. So, a combination of the two. But nevertheless, this out of touch individual, let me be kind and professional on the Soldiers of Finance platform, said the war on inflation is over. He posted this on X, formerly Twitter. He attached a chart showing the consumer price index had dropped from 7% last summer to below 2% in September of 2023. Now, the chart excludes, and he says, if you people out there in the masses would just exclude food, energy, housing, and used cars, then you would realize inflation is over, okay? So, essentials of life, food, housing, energy, and transportation, used cars, not even new cars, okay? If you exclude those things, then he says, quote, we won at very little cost. All right. Obviously, he doesn't watch the Soldiers of Finance channel, or at least he's not a subscriber. Krugman, I know you're watching. Subscribe. Listen, he's saying we won. Has he seen the credit card delinquencies? Has he seen the lack in wage growth compared to the increase in inflation? Has he seen these things? Has he seen housing unaffordability or rent inflation? This is why you got to watch the so-called authoritative sources, guys. All right? They're made up of people who do not exist in the economy that you and I exist in. All right? So here's this little chart, as you can see. The Nobel Prize-winning economist and New York Times columnist faced immediate backlash to his heavily adjusted yardstick of price growth. His ex-post was still at the top of the popular Wall Street Bets subreddit on Friday morning. Jim Bianco says this is a totally ridiculous measure. Bianco's the president of macro strategist and macro strategist at Bianco Research. It excludes 55% of the index. The joke was if you take all the stuff going up out of the index, you have no inflation. Just like the old joke, hey, you want to cure homelessness? Well, just mandate everybody have a house. There you go. All right, so he's been roundly criticized for this, as he should be. But let this be a warning to you that these so-called authoritative sources, they're not doing what we're doing. Guys, continue to concentrate on the acquisition of assets, quality assets. If you need some help in trying to interpret how you value stocks or the language of stock market investing or looking at any other assets, consider joining the channel, all right? Just hit that join button, find out what we got to own. Apple users, look, it's weird. You got to go and open a Chrome session to look at our join button for some strange reason. But do it anyway, because we want to reject conspicuous consumerism and we want to continue to buy assets. Guys, I'll talk to you soon.